Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Elisa Maria. I am the curator of this channel. I primarily talk about diamond painting, but I'm also a yoga teacher, and so we do some self-care on a Sunday called Self-Care Sundays. I am also a writer and a journaler and an art student from New York and also here in Philadelphia. And I also am a student of the Artist Way. So we talk a lot about the Artist Way and writing and journaling and art therapy and all those good things. But today is Whip Wednesday, and today we are going to be talking about a custom design that I had done for me through Dreamer Design. So buckle up, get out your whip, or listen to this like a podcast. I'm glad you're here. Welcome back if you're back, and welcome if you are new. I have the painting actually hanging up right now because there's some confetti, and in those areas you have to look at it from a distance. So I'm going to be turning the camera around so that you can get a good look at this portrait. So this is a painting by Gustav Klimt, and it is called Lady with Boa and Feather Hat. And I am also in the process of creating a tutorial on confetti. What is confetti? Confetti would be these areas here where there you have a lot of color change. You're constantly changing your colors. So maybe in this one section here, I might have I pretty much have about 25, and I'm talking just about this little red square here. I have about maybe 25 color changes there, whereas this is color blocking. Also very challenging, as I came to find out, especially when you are doing a color blocking in black, and white is also very challenging to. When you have color blocking, I feel as though that you see much more with white, but with black, I was going a little bit, I was getting blinded by the saturation of black and trying to make sure that my drills were aligned. So, but I was already in the process of creating some tips along the way when it comes to confetti. Now, confetti is not anything that I really ever dived into. However, the payoff is spectacular when you pull back from your, you don't see a lot of what's going on when you're on top of it, but when you pull back, especially when you pull back with your camera, you can really begin to see the detailing. And I'm starting to fall in love with confetti. However, I have the type of mind that gets overwhelmed very easily, and it becomes not fun. It becomes frustrating, and I become very agitated or anxious. This is not something that I want from a craft that I consider to be a meditative art. Diamond painting is very meditative in nature. So I am working on creating a tutorial on how we can, both of us, create spectacular canvases that have a lot of confetti, but also enjoy the process. So I'm going to save this part here. I'm hoping to be really fine-tuned with what I've discovered to make it easier for me to fall into confetti and not be anxious about it. I'd be anxious when I would see it coming up on the canvas, and I would be anxious when I was working it, and then I would be frustrated that I gave it a good look and then I didn't, I missed something. Pretty much that's what you'll hear from a diamond painter that's doing confetti, unless you're very proficient and you just love it. There are people that just love confetti. I know a few. In fact, I'm going to reach out to a few of my diamond painting friends that just love confetti, and I would like for them to just give me a dry run on what it is that I'm going to be teaching, and if they can give me any more helpful tips and tricks. I don't know if this will be a live interview. I don't know if it'll just be me interviewing them and kind of, regurgitating back to you, but I would really just love to have them, give me their 2 pennies and give me some tips and tricks that maybe I would be able to teach you, or, who knows, maybe I've hit on something here and maybe they learn something from me also. But let's get started with this diamond painting because it is Whip Wednesday, and I'm actually considering going up here where there is more color blocking instead of, moving across. It's going to kind of look like she had a stroke because only one side of her face is going to be done. But she's absolutely beautiful. If you don't know anything about this painting, again, it is Red Hilda, who is the model, Hilda Rosell, and I did a little tutorial on just Hilda, and she was, a very one of the models that Klimt used very often. If you're familiar with Klimt's work, I believe that she is the face of the Kiss. I believe that she is the face of Danae, the mythological story of Danae. So let's get cracking. I'm going to take this down. I'm actually using my lampshade, which is coming in very handy as a little easel for me to hang up my diamond painting. So I diamond paint a little bit, and then I take a good look at it, and I'm like, okay, we're coming along. Here we go. Let's get set up here. And the way that I'm going to be diamond painting is going to be this way, and I'm going to put you this way so that you can look at this beautiful face. She is just, I am so in love with this model. I am so in love with Red Hilda. I'm going to knock a few things over first. I'm going to get this out of my way. This is my big planner. Huge planner. I'm 3 years ahead of the game here. Here we go. And put that there. And I'm going to get started. So I did really gear up with my placers and all. Now I did buy a recent putty from Patsy's Putty in Mango, and the heat has just been incredible. Beryl, the hurricane, and the excruciating high temperatures that we've had here. I just don't, my house is cool. I just don't think that, it must be very difficult. What I'm going to say is crafting putty, because you are using essential oils in your putty. And if you think back to like your winter putties, like maybe you got some that were peppermint, you'll notice that they have a lot. I want to just turn this light down here. You'll notice that there's a lot of oil in peppermint, and so it becomes very stringy very fast. So it's just been a learning curve for me with the putty. I love putty. I think it's very fun. And I love wax too. I love the wax from Dreamer Designs. And if I didn't tell you, this is a Dreamer Design custom kit that I had done here. Again, I had just finished 2 of Klimt's paintings. One was Woman in Gold, not the big one from Diamond Dots. This was another one from Diamond Painting Shop. And I had finished, I think I did first The Kiss from Diamond Painting Shop, and then I did Woman in Gold by Diamond Painting Shop. The Kiss from Diamond Painting Shop was really fun to do because the rendition had 3D flowers. So when you see, I believe that this is a rendition of the Greek mythological story of Orpheus and Eurydice. So when you see Eurydice, who I'm calling in the case Eurydice, kneeling, she has vines wrapped around her feet, and she is kneeling on a meadow, like a hill, and there's all flowers. Well, all of that was all 3D flowers, very pretty. There were flowers in her hair. It was just so pretty. And then I got like all my Klimt click at Klimt Kick. And I had really did a deep dive into Klimt, and I wanted to look at some of his paintings and look at some more that were in the public domain. And this was in the public domain, and I was so shocked that it has not been rendered as a diamond painting from one of the bigger diamond painting companies. I just love her. I just love it. I love this painting, and I love the job that Dreamer Designs did with me. They were very, very good about working with me, and helping me enhance the color, and they will work with you with ABs. It was really a really fun experience. I'm not going to the black. I know that's the first thing that my eye is seeing is the black, and I have a little bit of confetti to fill in here. I'm not going to bother with that either right now. I'm just going to fix a few of my drills that seem to have wandered. Okay, and I think there's a little bit, when I was in this section, we started to get a little bit of this beautiful blue that is this bluish purple that's wrapped around the brim of the hat, and then this part is all feathers over here. So that's where I'm going. So excited to get to this juicy blue. So I think I'm going to start with this particular symbol. Okay, and now my canvas is facing you, so I'm going to make sure, especially with these arrows, I'm going to make sure that this symbol is going in the same direction that I'm going from the view that I am painting, okay? Because I did have to pull a section out. And I know better, and I do it anyway. But I was in the zone, and you know, this is a meditative craft, meditative art. And, you know, I was in the zone. And so, you know, got a little lost. Is there a song like that? I'm trying to think of it. It's in the back of my head. I think my husband does it. I think it's in his lineup. It'll come to me. Is everyone ready for the 4th? Tomorrow is also my son's birthday. So it's not just the 4th of July for me. It's my baby's birthday, my only baby. My only guy. And we're just, you know, he's working. I was like, oh, you're working on your birthday? He's like, Mom, what am I? You know, a baby? Yeah, I'm working. It's a holiday pay. Of course I'm working. I was like, all right. So he's working, but he gets done at 2. And then we're going to take him to dinner to celebrate. And that's what's going on. And then I have my mom, who, if you are not new here, just had a tragic fall outside of my home, no less. You know, she was coming to my house for lunch, and she tripped on these goofy shoes that she was tripping in her own house in, and she fell, and she had a really tragic fall. And she's coming along. She's doing better. She is having a birthday July the 19th, and she's always telling my husband, why don't you come here and practice, and I have the whole backyard, and I would love to like just have some music outside. And you know, he has a studio. I never knew what she was getting, but he gave in. He was like, you know, Mom, you have a birthday coming up, so why don't I just come over with the guys, and we'll have a birthday bash for you. So she's excited about that. So that's what we're doing. And then my husband volunteered me to do all the cooking. That's all right. But John and I love to entertain. We're entertainers. We love having people over. We love entertaining. It's like a cabaret in here. I'm walking around like, you know, a hostess with like all the food, and everybody have a drink, and John's at the piano, or he's playing guitar, and all his friends are musicians, so who's on the drums and who's got, I don't know. The last time Dante, and a few of you know Dante because he's supposed to do an interview with me because let me not go off on a wild tangent because then I'll forget what I was saying. But at the last party, he forgot he has this little thing, like it has like beads inside. So he was just going along with the music with a couple of packs of Tic Tacs. And it sounded great. So I'm supposed to be interviewing Dante because I am, see, I'm starting to go in the wrong, I'm starting to pick up the wrong. I almost covered the arrows. Okay. So I have to put this here so I can see it, so I know what this is where you're at, Lisa. You're not on that, you're on this. So much. I have always been fascinated by where people create. And, you know, Dante, I think did I upload think I uploaded like just like a mini update of a song that when he was here, he came over and he's like, hey, check out my YouTube channel. I just, did a brand new song. And I was like, well, it was just great. It was all about Philadelphia. I love songs about Philly. You got Philadelphia Freedom. You have, what's there? Well, I can't pronounce his name. Peter. Oh gosh, he was actually in my cafe, and he had noticed that I had a lot of things from Philly in my cafe, and he's like, "Oh, I wrote a song about Philadelphia," and when I was like, "This guy is like, oh my God, he's amazing." I don't want to butcher his last name. I'll put it up. He wrote a song about Philadelphia that's so pretty. What is he on Streets of Philadelphia? Is that Bruce Springsteen? Anyway, there's a lot of beautiful songs about Philly, and Dante did a great job on this song. I just absolutely loved it, and I was like, oh, I'm putting this up. I have to interview you. And the song is very layered, and it's got a lot of hooks to it. I was like, I'm going to be singing this song all day long, and I really want to know what his process is of creating. And so I'm hoping if I can get him to stand still long enough to get an interview out of him. He's like, yeah, sure, Lise, call me up anytime. I'm here. I might just do it at the party. That'll be fun, because I'll have so many musicians there that I could, pick their brain. Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna love that. But my husband's very excited. He's very, very, very excited. He loves to entertain, so he's extremely, extremely excited about this whole thing happening at my mom's house. And I don't think she realized the can of worms that she opened. Because she's like, how many people are going to be here? I'm like, Mom, a lot. You're 84. You haven't seen a lot of people. This is a great opportunity to get in touch with your friends. You don't have to do nothing. Your daughter and your son-in-law are here to do everything. Just sit back and enjoy the show that you wanted. So. She's like, I just wanted a little music to like wake the neighborhood up. I'm like, oh, we're going to wake the neighborhood up. Don't worry about that. We're going to wake the neighborhood up. Oh my gosh. So I have been seeing, and it's really interesting during Summer with the Masters, I've been seeing all these like mini canvases now, which I think is just so fabulous, because I don't think, I think if I wanted to do like a master art, I go all in. I'm just so morally ambitious. I would do the big one, but I love that they have these smaller ones now that you can do. I just like the effect of having. But if there's one that you really, 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 really love. Now, my mother was like, I walked into her room and she has a painting of the almond blossom by Van Gogh. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have a Van Gogh in here. She's like, huh, what? So I showed it to her. And she's like, oh, I just liked it. and I was like, well, Mom, this is what I do. When you come over my house and you see the paintings on the desk. And I showed her, I hope I'm saying it right, the almond blossom. Because they look like cherry blossoms, but I think it's called almond blossom. And so I showed her, and she's like, oh, that's so cute. So she might get into something the way that Michael's has with the bamboo hanger, and that you could just hang it up when you're done. My mom was always very creative, always. She was always like with the ceramics. And she did a lot of really nice, at some point you couldn't even tell the real thing from, her hand, because she was just so good with the ceramics. She liked the what's that called? The bluish one. I can't think. I wasn't a ceramic girl. The only ceramics I ever collected, or pottery I should say, is Russell Wright. I've collected his stuff, and Hull. I've collected Hull all due to my grandfather, who when my grandmother and grandfather were married young, they were childhood sweethearts, and my grandfather was killed at 29 from someone who held up his cab. He was not a cab driver. He was a taxi driver, but the union went on strike and he had to take a job. My Aunt Lorraine was a newborn and they needed money. And my mom was, I think, 7, and he went out as a cab driver. And my grandfather, from what I can tell, because I found an old cigar box of his, and he had charcoal pencils inside, and he had sketches, he had a harmonica, he had a camera, and I have his camera. I should really show you guys this camera, because there's actually a roll of film in there, and I won't open the door because I don't know how, I don't know who to take it to. It's one of those old cameras that you look down in and you see your portrait on the other side, and there's a roll of film in there. I guarantee it's of my mother, because he took nonstop pictures of my mother as a little girl, and he took video, and so we found video and photographs that he took, and again, most of them were of my mom and his wife, my grandmother. He was very much in love with her, and so he was very creative. I think that's where I was going with this story. It's still, upsetting, but when we were looking at his video, and it was of New Year's Eve, and I did not recognize my grandmother. I was like, who is this crazy woman dancing all around with a glass of champagne? She's like jitterbugging all around in the film. And my mother goes, that's your grandmother. I'm like, my grandmother never looked like that. My grandmother never got over losing her husband, even though she remarried, even though she had another child. She never, ever, ever got over losing my grandfather. And I know this to be a fact because my grandmother and I were very close, and our lives in many ways paralleled one another. And I remember going to her house, and she was making chicken cutlets, and she was in another world, and I was talking as I did, and she wasn't telling me to go out for my walk like she would. And I was like, Graham, what's wrong? And she said, you have to not tell anybody. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I won't tell anybody. And she's like, today's my anniversary. I'm going to start crying right now. My grandfather. And, I think I knew as a young girl, like, I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. But I could have saw, like, this heartbreak still on her face. Unbelievable. And, yeah, so, I don't even know. I feel like I'm all over the place now with my grandparents, But, yeah, I found this camera, and I found his harmonica, and so I'm telling you that the camera, we found films of his, and the one film that my grandmother danced all around, it's New Year's Eve. Well, they had a fireplace, and I believe that they did live with his mother. That was just a thing that you did, each home, like we live I'm from South Philadelphia, and they had row homes, and they were like 3 stories, and usually the elders, the grandparents, lived on the bottom, and the children lived on the 2nd and the 3rd floor. And I believe that my grandmother, in fact, I know that she did, because my Aunt Mary was a Spitfire, and she would, be like, she told her father once, my great grandfather, who I knew my great grandfather, my great grandmother, she told my father once, Pop, we got to get Rosie out of that house. Frankie works all week. Rosie's by herself. And then he hands his paycheck over to his mother. Well, that's what you did. But my aunt was a Spitfire. But am I ever getting to this film? So, my grandmother's dancing around, and I could see they're upstairs. It was big. The row homes here are big, especially when you have 3 floors. And they had a mantle, and they had a fireplace. And there was this beautiful vase. In fact, I have it here. I think it might be on my piano still. Or maybe I put it away because my husband's a klutz, or it's literally has Quake putty underneath of it. No, it's upstairs in my art room. And my mother said, I have that vase on the mantle. And I was like, oh, it's beautiful. And she knew I always loved it, so she gave it to me when I bought my home. And it's a whole vase. It's like a very light pink blush color. It may have some mint in it also. It's beautiful. It has these beautiful handles on each side. But back in the day, when you got flowers from a florist, they would put your flowers in things like whole vases, and the whole vase was very popular. It was worth it if you had it. Now, I don't know what it is. They're just they went down in value. They depreciated, which I'm so shocked at that they depreciate it, because they're such lovely vases. And so I have that vase, and so it's so cool to see my grandparents young and in love. And my mom at that point was a very little girl. She might have been a toddler when that was taken, and my aunt was not born yet. And to see that vase in the background, and I have it now. So that's like the only piece of pottery that I collected whole for a while. A lot of whole vases. And all that from the fact that my mother loves ceramics. You never know where I'm going to go to talk, but that's where I went. And yeah, it was a crazy time, because I know I went and looked up, when I was old enough, I went and looked up the story in the newspaper, and they never found out who it was. And then as I got older, and I was for a while there, I was in the medical community as I ran a medical center in Philadelphia, and I would sit through, if you were to come in, if you had an accident and the insurance company wanted you to have an independent medical evaluation, I would sit down with the doctor. I would sit down with lawyers, I would sit down with insurance companies, and I would, I would sit there to really take information of the doctor's findings, and because I would do the dictation also. Not the dictation, I would do the transcription. And I met a lot of people in forensics, and I once told someone that, what had happened with my grandfather, and he's like, I'll pull those records if you want me to. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we do so much today that I could probably find out some things that you didn't know at the time. And I just was like, I remember just my head was swimming at the time, because that's something that you really have to think about if you want to know or not. But I did, because the curiosity was deeper than being afraid of anything. But he's still my pop, even though I didn't know him. I've always felt something around me as a little girl, and I've always felt like some sort of hand of protection that would reach out and grab me from any kind of harm that I could have came to. And when I learned the story of my grandfather, I knew immediately that it was him. And my mother was like, oh, he would have loved you. He would have loved you. Not because you were my daughter or because you were the first grandchild, but because he was crazy about my grandmother, and he was crazy about me, and he was over the moon when my sister was born. My grandfather was a very handsome man, and he was a charmer. From what I understand, he was a charmer. And my grandmother said once, when she was pregnant with I think it was with my aunt. I don't think it was with my mother. I think it was with my aunt. He came home from the tailor. My grandmother was pregnant, and she was on the floor, scrubbing the floors. I think this is why my Aunt Mary didn't like my grandmother's mother-in-law, my father's mother, my grandfather's mother. And he came home with a couple of girls from work, like, oh, Rose, I want to introduce you to so-and-so, and she's in my department, and they're going to stay for dinner. I think my grandmother threw a bucket of water at him with the brush and everything else. I was telling my husband this, and he's like, oh, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, you're just like your grandmother. You know, hot-headed Siggy. Did you see my grandmother on the floor scrubbing pregnant floors, and him coming home, good looking as he was so handsome. Such a handsome man. But I think I told you guys this when I married my husband, John. He's parcel post, so he delivers packages for the post office, and we watch out for each other in this neighborhood, and we pick up packages, and he had picked up a package off my neighbor's step, and he called me up. He's like, Elisa, didn't you say your mother's maiden name was Crispaldi? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, did you know that Annette's maiden name must be Crispaldi too? I'm like, I've never met another Crispaldi in my life, ever. You know, a lot of Italian names here in South Philly. I've never met another Crispaldi ever. He's like, well, it's her name. And he's like, I'm going to call her husband, Nicky. John and Nicky have been neighbors. And he's like, you know, he's like, Nick, my wife's mother's maiden name is Crispaldi. And he's like, oh, you're kidding me. He's like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you know, her mom's dad was killed when he was a young man, and Elisa's mother was a little girl. He's like, oh, yeah, that's my wife's uncle. Are you kidding me? I'm swear to God, we're all dancing on the head of a pin, and we still have room for a prayer. And they were at my wedding. And I had pictures of, we got married in a restaurant, and where John really likes this restaurant. It's on his route, and they love him. He's like, this is going to be the perfect place for us to get married. And he said, so we put, like, I had pictures of him and I all through, from us being friends from when we were kids, and then dating, and then pictures of his mom and dad who are both gone, and pictures of my grandparents, because I loved my grandmother and grandfather. I knew my dad's mother, but I was very close to my grandmother, my mother's mother. So I was like, Annette, you live 3 doors away from me, and we're related. How could my grandfather be your uncle? And she said that her father was born after my grandfather was killed, and they always talked in the family about Frank and, you know, this tragedy in the family. And she's like, yeah, he was my uncle, and my father loved him dearly. I'm like, I love him dearly too. There's just something about his essence, or like what he left behind in this family, that we still all carry with us. And yeah, I'm like, I have a cousin living, and she was at my wedding. And when I tell you that when I was married the first time, the last thing that my grandmother did was come to my wedding, because she had cancer, and they were hiding from me how sick she really was. And I thought because she came to my wedding that she was on the mend, but it really just took everything out of her. And I thought about my grandmother the whole time of my second wedding to my husband, John. And here, like a gift, like a validation, my cousin is at this wedding. Unbelievable. It still rocks my world. It still rocks my world, because I don't think that there are any, you know, coincidences and stuff. I think we are all right where we have to be, right where we should be. I am loving this purple and blue together. Loving it. Purple is one of my husband's favorite colors. Like, I don't wear purple, and I don't think I wear really any kind of like berries. I might tend more towards, I tend more towards green, any shade of green. I love, well, maybe not pastel green. I like rich greens, emerald greens, forest greens. In fact, I just bought like a beautiful green blazer because we're going to a birthday party for someone else that my husband met on his route, and they got to talking because my husband was always delivering books to him, and he was like, he would always say, I hope it's a good one, because my husband's an avid reader. And one day the gentleman struck up a conversation with my husband, and here it was, a book on philosophy, and my husband was just like, oh, now you're talking my language. I love philosophy, I love objectivism. And they hit it off, and here, my husband was delivering to his office again. He's like, hey, is Bart in? And they are like, oh no, he goes to like his summer home. He was a snowbird in the winter. And when he came back, of course, they picked up where they left off with their little intellectual conversations. And he's like, hey, John, you should come and stay with us sometime. I was like, well, bring your wife. And he's like, stay with you where, Bart? And he's like, oh, I own the Showboat. Had no idea that he owned the Showboat. And he invited us to be his guests at the Showboat in Atlantic City. And so they're having a party for him coming up, and they invited my husband and I to join them. So nice. And so and they were like, the attire is island chic. I'm like, okay. So I am wearing some crisp white trousers with a green blazer on top, a white t-shirt, a blazer, but I have a beautiful island scarf that I'm going to drape around the lapel of the jacket. I'm looking forward to this party. I feel like it's been so long since I've gotten dressed to go out, probably because I'm just getting off of this ankle that with all this weather is like, being such a pain in my tail feather. Let me tell you. And John was like, wait, you broke a bone. Of course, you're going to have pain when it's humid out. I'm like, but I don't want it. I don't want the pain. I go through enough already. He's like, I married a 14-year-old girl. That's what I married. Oh, but yeah, it's been a real pain. But I feel like I have not gotten dressed up for anything. Like, I'm not going to be dressed for my mom's party because I'm doing all the cooking. I'm the caterer. Could be running around in like shorts and sneakers, hair up, probably no makeup. Checking on food. Bum, bum, bum. Where are we at here? Here we go. Look at this. And I love, putting my pen down and like just looking at it through the camera lens, because I just feel like the camera lens picks up so much more than your eye. And you can see like where her face is, over here where the eye is, she's starting to blur out because this is all confetti in here. I can't even tell you how many. They look really similar in shade, but they're not. And this came with 1AB to it. It's how many colors here? 46 and 1AB. And the AB is like right here. This little block of pastel colors. Oh, I actually missed one. Hello. Let's get you fixed here. And it's like a champagne color. It's really pretty. But when you pull away, you can see like where her eye comes in. Now in the photo, her eyes are very dark. There's like a black liner here, but I could see where they just soften his face. This almost reminds me of like, this is a oil on canvas painting, but this part of her face reminds me of maybe a soft pastel. And I like that the hair isn't bright like clown red. They actually put some definition in here, and I'm curious to see what this side is going to look like. I got a glare there. What that side is going to look like. So curious. It's just, I love watching this unfold. I love watching how, it just begins to take on a life, you know. Let's try and get that clear cut the other way. There we go. I can still see. There we go. Hopefully I didn't dull the film. Anyway, yeah, so that's what's been going on. Tonight's my favorite night. I'll tell you why. Because I get to watch Presumed Innocent, and then my husband doesn't have to go to work tomorrow. Yay! Because it's July 4th and it's my baby's birthday. And we love when he has the day off. We're like two little kids. We get up in the middle of the night. We're so much alike. We are one of those disgusting people that, you know, we finish. I'm like, I can't believe you just said that. I was just thinking that. And we sit on the same side of the table when we go out to eat. Do you do that? Please tell me that you do. We don't sit across from each other. We sit next to each other. I thought I had a big line of arrows here, there. And, oh, you want to give me a hard time? Here we go. So we're so much alike that we literally get up at the same time. And, like, if I can't sleep, he's up. He gets up. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, what am I doing? I'm staring at my phone. What am I doing? I'm planning the next day, working on, you know, getting my podcast jump started. What am I doing? You know? And then he'll get up, or we literally talk to each other in our sleep. He'll say something and I'll answer him. It's bizarre. Bizarre. Put this here. I think I'm going to switch off. But yeah, I was saying with the putty, the Patsy putty is denser. I will say that. It was denser. And I thought, oh, this is going to be good because it's not going to get heated up as quickly as the other ones. But it was leaving like mango colored like little specks on my canvas, and if your putty touches this canvas, it's like, forget it, you're done. You can't get it off. It sticks there. It drives me crazy. So I'm like, all right, back to the wax. Let's start using the wax again. But then that was wet and slippery. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm thinking about like maybe keeping like a little cooling fan on the desk, but then that's going to annoy me because the sound's going to annoy me. Yeah, so, oh, tell me if you're watching Presumed Innocent or anything that you're watching. My husband and I watched a really old one the other day with Ben Affleck called The Town, because I think we'd seen a documentary where, I love Boston. I've been to Boston once, and I absolutely, I'm going to say this out loud, I love Boston more than New York. I don't know why. I loved Boston. And I remember us seeing the documentary how there was a part of Boston called Charlestown or Charleston, however you want to pronounce it. And that is known for, it's like generational, where it's a town of bank robbers, and it's like just passed on from father to son. They become bank robbers. And Ben Affleck plays a part where he's a bank robber. That was very good. Who else was in it? Oh, Jeremy Renner, the actor from Mayor of Kingstown that had that horrible accident where they didn't even think he was going to survive with the snowplow. Oh my God. So he's in it, and he's young. But it was really good. I can't sit still for a movie. It has to, you have to grab me, or I'm just like, I'm off. I'm so programmed to use my time wisely. I don't have time to wait for something to become good. Unless I'm sick in bed, then like I fall into these like sleeper movies where it's like, oh, I would have never watched that, but it turned out to be really good. So I'm not reading anything other than reading The Listening Path to you guys on a Sunday, and I have to tell you that I am enjoying it so much this time around. I think because even though you guys are not here and it's not live, and I don't know, that might be something that I do, you know, with a book that you guys really respond to. Like maybe we'll do it live and you can ask questions. But, you know, I read on a Sunday from a book that has changed my life. And The Listening Path is another book by Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist Way, and I have been a student of The Artist Way for some 20 years now. And at the beginning of every year, I do The Artist Way again. And 2024, boy, I was raring to go. And the earth, the universe just said, I don't think so, girl. I think you need to take a break. So we're going to give you COVID. I outwitted COVID for 4 years, and I got it when I was just like really like, I was like so on my game. And I got this stinking virus, and it sent me for a loop. And then I decided after that, when I could finally taste again, to break a tooth. That resulted in me losing and having to have done major dental surgery of 3 more teeth, which I just finished that this Monday. Shout out to Dr. Nicolo at Jefferson Dental. Hands of gold, this man. Hands of gold. I absolutely adore him. And then after that would happen, I don't even know what happened after. Oh, I broke my ankle. Oh, how could I forget? So I'm still waiting for 2024. I'm still standing with a glass of champagne, waiting to waiting to ring it in. And guess what? 2024 is like a teenager now, right? We're like midway. Yeah, no, she's in her 20s now. She's out clubbing. And so I often read from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, which is like a page reading. It's 365 readings of reflections by Mark Nepo. And I was really missing doing my Artist Way because I couldn't even do it. I was out of it with COVID. And then, you know, the whole thing with the teeth, it's so traumatic, you know, having work done on your teeth. You're so vulnerable, you know, having someone in your mouth, working on your mouth, and then the ankle, and I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, I was looking through my books because it's another video that I want to do of books that, you know, are motivational, spiritual, inspirational, uplifting, that you could, you know, open up and just read something and feel better about yourself. And that's another video that I wanted to get out to you all. And I picked up The Listening Path. And this was something that I did with my husband, who is not a great listener. And he's like, how do you hold it all in your head when someone's talking? Like, how do you really pay attention? Like, I am paying attention, but I'm so anxious to answer that am I really paying attention? And I said, well, I have a book and I'll do it with you. And it's called The Listening Path by Julia Cameron. And, you know, I found out that even though I am quiet and I do not rush ahead, I've had to train myself to do that. I think I am a good listener. I think that I listen with my eyes, not just with my ears. I pick up cues from body language or tone. But I found that really does not, it makes me a good listener, but I could be a better listener because I take time to process. I don't just I take time to respond, and sometimes that could come off the wrong way. And so I'm working on that now. And that's what I'm learning this time around by reading you guys The Listening Path. And I've gotten some really good feedback that has made you aware of the soundtrack of your life. And what is the soundtrack of your life? What kind of sounds are you tuning into during your day or tuning out during your day? That also takes energy that you could change. You could stop tuning out because that's a bad habit. We have to engage. We have to take action to change the sounds that we are tuning out to. And why are we tuning out to them? What kind of emotion arises from tuning out of the sounds that are annoying us? What is it about them that that's the wrong one. What is it about them that makes us agitated or anxious? You know, and I've said this a few times during the course of the few weeks. I think I'm going on a month now. I think this week will be week 4 of the listening path, and they're short. I keep Self-Care Sunday short because Sunday is fun day and people have things that they want to do, and I also keep it short because some people listen to it at night because they have Sunday anxiety. Monday, they can hear Monday sharpening her claws from the time that they get up on Sunday, but mostly when they get ready to go to bed and they have to start the work week, and it makes them anxious. So I keep it short and sweet for that reason too. Maybe it's something that you can listen to before you go to bed. So you can catch up. But it's really interesting if you are, curious about what am I listening to? Can I be in silence? I know I can. That's something that I've worked on, though. There was a time when I couldn't be in silence, that just sitting by myself for 10 seconds, I'd reach for the phone and I'd go to distract myself. And then I realized, hey, you know what? You only got one life to live. Stop wasting these moments because you don't know what's going to happen in the next one. So, get it together and, what is making you anxious sitting here? What is it about silence that makes you anxious? Or what is it about any noise that you're hearing in your background? So that was really good. I mean, I think if I remember right, Julia in the first chapter talked about her own environment and the sounds that she can change, the sounds that she can't control. You can't control sounds from other people. And then the second chapter was the soundtrack of your life. And the third chapter was she interviewed all different people and how they listen, whether they're musicians or teachers or friends. She wanted the point of view with people with different occupations and people that do different things in their life. But this Self-Care Sunday is going to be listening to your higher self, which is something that I tune into every morning when I go into my art room and I do my artist way. Basic tool of writing, stream of conscious, 3 pages, front and back, in longhand, no abbreviation. Those of you that know me are like, oh my God, is she talking about that again? Is she telling us again? So I'm going to ask you to just be patient because somebody here might be new and not know. So I'm sorry if you feel as though I'm repeating myself, but I'm repeating myself for those who may be new and want to join our little fam that we got going on here. I think I got them all. Boom, 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 boom. And now I'm only left with one more. Oh, here's 2. One more symbol for this beautiful blue band. And like I was saying, confetti is challenging, and I love a challenge. I do. I think it keeps your diamond painting fresh. But color blocking is also, I've learned from this painting, challenging. Because if you look at this big boa here, I literally put the washi tape as wide as this bow and was like, oh, this is going to be a cinch to get through this section. It's all black. It wasn't. I can't tell you how many times I went over it because I had one drill that was in too many. I had one drill that was not in enough. I was one drill short. Oh, it drove me mad. It drove me mad, and I had to learn how to calm down, and I went back. I'm not really a person that likes a placer that is larger. I believe that this is a 6, maybe a 7. After that, I feel that you lose something in the drill space. I feel that when you are filling in a space that is this long, and this is all color blocking here, that your drills really don't align properly after the 6 or 7 drill space. They don't really align where the drills fall in the drill space. And so I'd rather take a smaller placer and see exactly where the first drill is going in and the last drill is going in. That's just my 2 pennies there. We got room to do one more here. One more color. Oh. Okay, let's put you away. Why are you still out to confuse me? I've done it a million times. I've picked up the tray. I picked up the drill container and literally poured the wrong drills in there. Oh my God, what a horror, right? What a horror when you do that. And I've had one black drill stuck in there for I don't know how long. What a horror, but I have a little tip that I use. I love my aligner. I should just do a video on how many times I use my aligner for things to do something other than just align the drills. So the last color here is this beautiful blue. It's a plus sign. Oh, there might be one more. Oh, I missed a few. And I missed a few. And I'm going to tell you that I could have easily rendered that, but that's coming up in my confetti series. So I'm trying to keep everything under wraps because I really want it to be a juicy tip video, or at least something that you guys talk about or think about when it comes to confetti. I have some putty in my single placer, and I really do enjoy using putty in my single placer. I need a little bit more, and I will show you the putty that I'm using. It's actually one of my winter putties, and it's a mess, but I love this smell. It's called Snow Day, and I don't think that it has a lot of essential oil in it, and so it doesn't get melted or stringy. But some of your putties that don't have any essential oils in them can also get stringy and get, you know. I felt like at one point when I first started using putty, I was always running back and forth to my refrigerator. I'm like, I'm gonna get one of those little desk refrigerators because I'm constantly putting my putty in the refrigerator, and like I'm running back and forth to the refrigerator constantly. And then I just gave up on putty. I'm like, putty doesn't like me. He's not my friend. And then, you know, I get out of my own way and I'm like, how can you make this work? Because that's my personality. I really don't ever take no for an answer. I find someone that tells me yes. If you tell me no, that can't be done, I'm like, okay, thank you. Next. I need the next person to tell me that it can be done. And you have to in life, I believe, do that, because there are a lot of people that are just happy with the status quo and they won't go out of their way to make something work. And, you know, but there are people out there that are seeking change and how to do things different. And you will find them. You just got to say please and thank you. And okay, thank you for your input. And you just keep going. Don't let anybody dull your light and tell you that something can't be done when you believe in your heart that it can. Because if you have the vision, like my girl Ilanya Van Zant says, if God gave you the vision, girl, he's going to give you the provision to get it done. Don't let anybody, ain't going to give it to your girlfriend that's telling you, no, it can't be done. It ain't going to give it to your husband. Or, you know, oh no, you don't want to do that. Or your friends. It's always the friends and the family, right? We had this discussion the last time I did a video. Oh no, I'm sorry. It was actually one of my art tutorials. And I was talking about, I did a little yoga before the art tutorial, or I was doing something. I can't remember. I can't even, oh, I know what I was doing. I was smudging my art room. And my husband had come into the art room earlier that morning, and he had wanted me to help him with his very tense and tight shoulders. Now he sees a girl that does massage, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, you know, he's trying to get me to go, and I'm like, I'm not going because she's not, for me, formally trained. So I'm not letting anybody touch my body. She might be, he's like, she's excellent. I'm like, well then go to her, go let her work out your shoulders. He's like, please, she's not available. Help me do, like, I see you do like these stretches and all. And I'm like, I will, but you know what? You know, you're very difficult to teach. And he is. I'm straight up. You have to listen to what I'm telling you. You can't look at me as your wife. Right now you're looking at me as your yoga teacher, and you have to respect what I'm telling you and do what I say because I don't want you to get hurt. Well, of course, he yesed me to death, and then he came in my art room and did everything opposite, you know. And then I just left him there. I was like, you're impossible to teach. And then he felt bad, and then he told me how great he felt afterwards. But, you know, when I was doing my video to smudge my room, now I'm smudging my art room because I'm doing a lot of work in there, but I just really wanted to smudge his energy out of there. Not my husband, his energy. I love my husband. I don't like the way he acts sometimes, but I love my husband. And I was talking about, you know, this whole experience of trying to teach someone something when they are family. They all have the same mantra, because I was getting very short with him because he promised me that he was going to do something and he's not doing it. And he's like, aren't you a yoga teacher? Aren't you supposed to be patient? Does this sound familiar to anybody when you're doing something for family and they, you know, they just know the buttons to push? Now, I had no idea either that The Bear, if anyone is watching The Bear on Hulu, that they dropped the whole 3rd season. Now, I love Oliver Platt. I met Oliver Platt once in New York, and I was just like, oh, like a schoolgirl, just gushing all over him. And he plays the uncle. Now, I don't know where they're picking, you know, I had to go back to the last episode of season 2 because I forgot where we left off. And I will tell you, by the 2nd episode, I was done. I was done. I'm like, there is no way I'm going to spend my time watching this show, because a chef, now I've owned restaurants, okay? There's not a chef worth his salt that would put up with. And let me tell you, rule number 1 is it's very difficult to work with family. It's very difficult to manage friends. I'm like, no chef with this vision would be in this environment this chaotic. And there's a lot of clues during the 1st episode of season 3, because my husband is like, yes, you would. This is what he's used to. I'm like, this is the environment, yes, that he's used to, but he's learned how to thrive out of it. Even though he can thrive in it, doesn't mean that he liked it. And he learned so much that I don't believe that, I just don't like the writing. It makes me so anxious, the show, watching it this time around, that I've said, you know what, I really don't care what happens. I don't care. I don't care what happens, because I'm over this. I just feel like they wrote this season where, oh, the conflict works. We're going to have more conflict. And I'm like, no chef worth his salt would put up with this in his kitchen. And I thought he learned that when he went for his training. But evidently it is, you know, I'm sure there's some psychological reason that I'm not interested in uncovering why he is putting up with this bullshit. Oh, that's not that color. Okay. Put that back. It's this one. I missed a few arrows. But I'm so excited. I'm going to reach out to a few of my diamond painting friends. I'm hoping to get one in particular that will say, oh, I would love to, Elisa, hear what you're doing. And help you here. Would love to give you some advice for your fellow diamond painters. That's what she's going to say. Even though she doesn't talk like that voice that I just had. She's got a beautiful voice. Did I miss two? One more. There's even like a little band of flowers here. Oh, look, there's one more. And this is why I love putty, because when you have to fish one out in here, there's another one. You don't go there. When I did that big color blocking mistake, oh, thank God I had my my cuticle nipper with this jaw. I don't use a tweezer. I don't use a tweezer. I use this because it will just make it very easy for you if you make a mistake, because who's got time? Ain't nobody got time to pull drills out and be crazy. So let me do the flower section. Then I missed 2 of these. One here and one here. Ain't nobody got time for that. What's her name? Sweet Brown? Does anybody know that? Or do you have to be from Philly to know this one? She became like an internet sensation. Ain't nobody got time for that. She thought it was a barbecue going on and it was a fire. And she's got bronchitis. And she ain't got time for no smoke from a fire. Oh, God. Philly's always pouring tea, let me tell you. We never stop. We never stop pouring the tea. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, there's 2 flowers here. I had a look. I want this one. I'm just going to do this trim for you all. I'm going to wrap it up. It goes by so fast. Oh, this is pretty. I always think that there's like maybe a little opalescent on some of these drills, but it's just that they're so shiny. And let me tell you something. This actual color reminds me of a very vintage bead that was very popular in Paris. So I love that they use this color. I'm going to take everything off my desk, and maybe I will pin her back up again and show you guys from a distance what it looks like we did in the beginning. And so I thank you for keeping me company. I know we talked about a lot of things, a lot, family and self-care and meditative arts, and Gustav. I can't get off of Gustav Klimt. I can't get enough of this guy. Okay, I'm gonna put you back up on my lampshade. Oh my gosh, I am so in love with this painting. I am so in love with this painting. I just absolutely adore it. I am so glad that you were here for it, and keep in mind that I am going to be creating a confetti class. I'm going to right now get into a private message of a few of my confetti love and diamond painters and tell them what I got going on. And it would be nice to do a little collab with them if they want to do a collab, if they just want to hear me out, if they want to give me their 2 pennies worth. But I hope you love this painting. I just love her. I'm looking to see what her eye is going to be doing in this second half here. Because again, I do find this to be a very soft pastel, and I don't know if I want to maybe take out and do the liner. I think I'm going to pop the picture up. Hopefully I pop the picture up throughout the painting, which I usually do. And then you can see the smokiness of her eye when you see the original painting. And that's it. That's all I got for you today. That's it. That's my story. Sad but true. Nah, just kidding. I will see you in the next one. Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow is 4th of July. Enjoy your 4th. I know I'm going to be partying with my son once he gets out of work. And my hubby is home. And then Friday, what do we have going on? Is the hubby working? He is going to work. Yeah, Friday, Saturday. Yep. So I will see you after the 4th. Enjoy the 4th, Independence Day. I will see you, as always, in the next one, and keep creating that world that you want to live in. Bye.